Oh, it started. Okay. Hi. It's me. I finally got this recorded. So, my experience exploring world literature has been really, really interesting. Coming from a sociology background, it's really cool to see in writing or to read um, reflections of different cultures that I'm not familiar with, because that's a really powerful tool in understanding different cultures and sort of how groups of people operate, and um, seeing reflections of belief systems and ideologies that I'm not familiar with has just been really awesome. Um, so the books that are most valuable to me were the Bhagavad Gita and the Thousand and One Nights. The Odyssey was really cool, but Bhagavad Gita and Thousand and One Nights in particular really struck home for me. Um, because they showed some things that I think are missing from contemporary American culture. One was in the Bhagavad Gita, where they were talking about Dharma and how Dharma is, and how we discussed in class what Dharma is and how it's like proper action. I think that's something that we don't think about in 21st century America, because it's more focused on getting money and gaining personal wealth, and sort of this idea of fame, and how internet popularity has become a cultural token. So that was really cool. And then the idea of gift economy, I think, is that we talked about in Thousand and One Nights. I think that was really the most poignant thing for me. There was that scene, which I wrote about this on the exam, but the scene in, I think it was Sinbad's sixth voyage, maybe, where he met the old man, who gave him, like, just showered him with gifts and gifts and gifts, um, and then offered to sell his raft that he'd built out of the fine sandalwood, um, and then wound up giving his business to Sinbad. I thought that was, at first, it was really weird because I didn't understand why he was giving Sinbad all of these things and why he was being so nice to him. Um, and initially, I kind of had this feeling of jealousy, like, man, I wish somebody would do that for me because I have no money. I'm like super poor. Um, and but as we talked about it in class and as I reflected on it, I realized what actually is a value to me in that interaction and in that exchange was the idea of developing relationships, and that it's not necessarily the objects that he was given, but the fact that this man was developing a relationship with Sinbad in order to give him the business. And that's something that is definitely missing from 21st century America. I remember I had an interaction with a friend of mine where I gave him something. I don't remember what it was, and he insisted on paying me for it. Insisted. This was after we'd already started reading the Thousand and One Nights, so I had a different reaction to him trying to pay me than I would have normally. I mean, of course, I don't want to get paid for just a little thing that I give somebody. That's not why I would give somebody something. It's because I like them and I want to, develop that relationship. Um, but I think that when we give things and we're compensated in cash for it, it takes away that connection, that interpersonal connection that's developed. Um, and I think that's something that I'm personally really sort of missing in my life. So it was really interesting to learn about that and experience that through the literature. Um, Definitely, Sinbad was my favorite character. Although I'm not really sure why, because I still feel like it's a little bit weird to me that he kept going out on these voyages, even though every time he almost died. But I guess it's a matter of being true to oneself And as a queer person who grew up in the 80s and 90s, that's something that I didn't have available to me when I was younger, and really had to like hide myself for self-preservation purposes, for my own safety. Um, and so maybe that's why Sinbad like resonates with me. I just thought that was cool. Um, One of the scenes that I thought was most impactful, aside from the one that I already mentioned with Sinbad, was in the Bhagavad Gita when the seven Pandavan brothers marry the girl. I can't remember her name right now. I'm sorry. Um, and the reasoning why it was dharma for all of them to marry her um, was really interesting because it brought up this idea of how karma actually does impact people's lives and how their past lives impact their current lives. Um, and as somebody who has questions um, on a lot of questions on a spiritual level, I thought that was really cool to see as like sort of an explanation or possibility for what's really happening in the universe. Um, what new thing did I learn? I don't know. Did I need to get my homework done? No, I think I learned a lot about perseverance and how people interact in cultures outside of what I'm familiar with. I think that was the most useful thing to me because if I want to go into something like social work, that's something I need to understand. Um, and what is most valuable to me in our culture? It's what's missing, what I already said. It's these interpersonal relationships that get replaced with monetary value. And so, I mean, it is there. So, like, we do develop interpersonal relationships. It's just, I feel like there are stronger ways to do that. And that's why 1001 Nights was really so very cool to me. Thank you very much. I hope that works. I'm sorry I don't have any posters because I don't know how to make them. Bye.